We're at the Lewis Miller Museum on December 1st, 2004, and we're going ahead with our interview of veterans. Would you please state your name?
My name is Joseph Armin Rousseau from Hoosick Falls, New York.
All right, and would you tell us a little about, before you went into the service, what you did and your life?
I was born in Sherbrooke, Quebec, Canada, March 28, 1928, of an American parent. So I stayed in Canada until the age of 20. In 1948, I came to the States to stay. Then I enlisted in the service.
All right, and when you enlisted, what did you enlist in? What's branch?
The Army.
All right, and
6th of December 1948.
You were in the Army. All right, where did they send you in the Army?
I took my basic training in Camp Pickett, Virginia, with the 17th Airborne. Then I went to the transportation companies in Fort Eustis, Virginia, to learn how to load cargo and unload cargo and personnel on ships and planes and trains.
So that was your major job. You learned. They taught you how to do the actual loading of these different vehicle types of transportation.
Right.
All right. Well, so where did they send you after they taught you that?
Well, I went on maneuvers in Vieques in January 50. And we were there for 2 weeks on maneuvers. Then I came back to Eustis, and then I went on maneuvers at the Pope Air Force Base in April. Then in May, I got shipped to Fort Lawton to Seattle, Washington, on my way to Alaska. And in June, while I was there, the Korean War started.
While you were in California getting ready to go to Alaska?
No, I was in Washington State.
Oh, Washington State.
In Seattle.
I see. All right, so there you were, and the Korean War broke out.
Correct. And I was sent to California to prepare to be shipped to Korea. Then I got on board ship, and they called 4 names out to get off the ship, and two of us got transferred to Oakland Army Base, and I got transferred at Fort Mason, the port embarkation in San Francisco.
I see. And
to process the personnel and then the dependents that were coming back from Japan.
I see. What do you mean by dependents coming back from Japan?
The wives and the children of the
veterans.
Of the veterans.
And in other words, they went to Korea and their families got shipped back, and you had to help process them back into the country.
That's correct.
I see. Okay. So there you were, loading ships and taking care of the personnel first, and then what happened?
Then once this was over with the dependents, I got transferred to a Camp Stoneman to the Fort Transportation Truck Company, which was assigned to Atomic Energy Commission.
I see.
What we did, the 1st of December, I was shipped to the Marshall Island to test the greenhouse operation.
And what was the greenhouse operation?
That was in April 1951.
And what did that was the name of it, the code name. What did they do? What were they doing?
We tested 4 A-bomb.
4 A-bombs.
And we just, when they blast the bomb, we just sat there with the dark goggles and we just look at them.
And how close were you to where they detonated it?
In the Marshall Island, I was no closer than about 15 miles.
15 miles.
Because they tested at the other end of the lagoon.
I see. And you were there when they tested the 4th. And what did you see? I mean, what?
You just saw the glow of it, the mushroom and the colors of it, then orange and yellow, and with the dark goggles that you can't see the sun through, it looks like there was 10 suns out.
I see. It was that bright.
It was that bright.
I see. And then, weren't they worried about radioactive fallout and so forth at that time? Or?
We were checking for that, but they didn't know what was
how many Roentgens you're going to, how much radioactivity you were going to
Right.
get. They had
and
no
they
idea.
didn't know how much damage that was causing, so
Yeah.
we were there as guinea pigs.
I see, to find out how it's going to affect people.
Right.
I
Correct.
see. And did you have a Geiger counter badge on? Or?
I did. We had a color badge that if we had some radiation on it, they read it, and but most of the time they didn't pick them up.
I see. They didn't even pick up the badges.
No.
They just let you wear them. All right. So you finished that
The
atomic
test.
tryout, and what came next?
I came back to the States in May, and then I was assigned to Camp Stoneman again. That was my home base. And in September, we took a convoy over to the desert in Nevada, and then we started the test there. We did 7 tests.
Yeah, but before that, there was no camp there, was there?
No.
What was the name of that camp?
We pull up, and my CO asked at the gate where we were going to go, and he told us to go in the desert and pitch tent, and that's how Camp Desert Rock got started.
So you were one of the first ones there in a tent.
I was the head G
Okay.
of the convoy.
All right. So what happened? Now they built that, and then they started another test site, and that was called.
This was Operation Buster Jangle.
All right.
And we did above ground test and underground test
I see.
from 0.3 to about 15 kiloton.
Yeah. And how did the government set it up? In other words, they're going to drop a bomb at X. What did they have? So many distance away, they had something, and so
Well, they at the test, we used to test some from the tower and some from the like I said, underground, and some would drop from so many feet. But at a distance, there was like an airplane set in the field, and the sheep and the animals, and houses with dummies in it, and that kind of stuff to see, at different distance from the
effect would
the
be
zero zone.
I see. You want to get what effect it was from the zero zone.
That's correct.
And where were you when this went
Well,
off?
we stood in the background, not too far away, and
How far would you say you were?
well, some of them, the smallest one were about a half a mile, but some of them were 2 or 3 miles. It all depended.
Yeah, see, but somewhere as close as a half a mile.
Right.
And the government at that time had no idea of radioactivity,
No.
even though they dropped it on Japan.
Because, well, they did then, some of it, yes. But then once the blast went through, we had some scientists that some of us had to drive through the zero zone with the like an asbestos suit.
I see.
The
And you were one of
protective
those
suit.
that drove through?
Well, I didn't drive through,
Oh,
but some
I
of
see.
our men did.
I see.
And that kind of stuff,
I see. So they were trying out what kind of suits you could wear to stop the radiation and the effect of it.
It must have been. The scientists knew more about it
I see.
than we did.
All right. So that was the end of that. How many atomic bombs did they?
We did 7 over there.
7 bombs they dropped.
On the ground, above ground, and underground.
I see. So okay. So when was this? When are we into now? About what
This
time?
is the fall of '51.
All right. The fall of '51.
From September to about the 1st of December.
Okay. Now you finished with the.
Then I go back to Stoneman again.
Yeah, because that's your home base.
Then because we're the transportation for the GIs that are being sent overseas.
Yeah.
We brought them down from Camp Stoneman to Pittsburgh, which was where the ferry used to come to take them down to Fort Mason on board ship.
And then they would ship overseas.
Then they were shipped overseas.
I see. All right. You did that for a while, and then what happened?
Then in June 1952, I got shipped back to the Marshall Island for the Ivy test, which we test 2 bombs over there. which was, one was the H-bomb, the 1st of November 1952.
And you were there when they tested the first H-bomb.
Yep.
And tell us a little about that.
Well, they didn't know how strong it was going to be, so they put us, all personnel went on board ship about another 10 miles from shore.
I see.
And we watched it, which means we were about 25 to 30 miles away from the zero zone.
I see. And what did they have in that zero zone? They had aircraft carriers, all kinds of ships, or
no.
what?
Well, they had ships. They had ships anchored, and then they blew them off. Yeah. And one of them was an aircraft carrier. I don't remember the name of it, but it stood on end in the blast, which the blast it used to be half a mile wide on the funnel of it.
Yeah, it went into a mushroom, a big
then
mushroom, like they show on television.
Mushrooms are 30, 40,000 feet up, you know.
Did you have to wear black glasses in that when you were 15 miles
did.
away?
Always did.
Always wore black glasses.
Always wear the darker the glasses through the test.
Well, were there any other things you wore other than the dark glasses to protect you?
No.
Otherwise, you were wearing your regular clothes.
That's correct.
I see. All right, so that's in the Marshall Islands. And
Yep.
they tried one bomb and the H-bomb, you said.
That's right.
Okay, now what happened to you?
Then I came home for discharge.
Oh, okay. Now I want to ask you some questions about the atomic tests. Now, did you keep in touch with any of your friends that were involved in these tests to find out that people suffer from it, to get cancer from it, get anything from it?
I did. I belonged to the National as a Radiation Survivor until 1998.
I see.
Then they had had an accident and died, and then the program got kind of let down. So
I see, but in your own, in your own understanding, did this affect a lot of your friends? I mean, people that were in there with you. Was there any?
I saw some in 1985 in Portland, Maine, and then in one of the reunion, there was a little bit disfigured, and then they were sick, like, you know.
Yeah, there were. So there were people that got sick from being at these tests.
Oh yeah.
So you were pretty lucky that that it didn't affect you that much. I mean, it might affect you a little, but
on one of the tests on the Ivy, they used to send the drone B-17 drones through the clouds to collect the radiation, and they had boxes on the wings that were attached, and as I watched them come in, I was driving my CO up to the airport, like, and so I had to stop to let the drone come down, and one of the box fell down, then went over our head, and my CO lost all his hair. I didn't. So there's something in the genes there that caused it.
I see.
And you just get a funny feeling. It tastes funny in your mouth.
I see.
And they wash you down with some chemicals that they have there.
And that to get some of that radiation off you when you're
right.
All right. So anyway, there you are. You went through all those radioactive tests and all the bomb tests. So you're one of the few people around that actually saw this happen.
Well, I saw a 12 atomic bomb and 1 H-bomb.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And all right, so they sent you home to get discharged, you told us. And what happened? I mean, after you got discharged, what did you do?
Well, I moved to Troy, and because my uncle and my grandfather lived there. Then I got a job there, and I ran a gas station for about 2 years. Then in 1955, I met a girl from Lucy Falls, and we got married.
And what was her name?
Margaret Sardlin.
I see. And Got married, and what happened after your marriage? Where did you live? Did you live in Hoosick Falls
I lived
after
in
that?
Hoosick Falls.
All right, and what did you do?
Then I quit the business in Troy. Then I started to work for Noble Wood.
Yep.
And I worked there until 1972.
And what did you do for Noble Woods?
I was an erector. I built the machinery and I set them up. I was a roadman, they call it.
And you went out to all the different factories that bought the machines, and then you would set them up and get them
that's
going.
Correct.
What kind of machines were they?
Paper mill.
Paper mill machines. All right. So you did that until when?
Until 1972.
Okay.
In 1972, I went to work for Bendix in Green Island as a machine repairman.
And how long did you work for Bendix?
Well, I worked there for 18 years, and I retired in 1990.
I see. So you were commuting all the time from Hoosick Falls into Green Island.
That's right.
Working at Bendix.
Yep.
Well, did they ship you around, or did you just set up in the plant? You worked in the plant.
I
Bendix.
worked.
You were in charge of keeping the machines going.
In the plant.
I see.
Right.
You're keeping the machines going
Right.
in Bendix. All right. Now, tell us a little about your family. After you got married, how many children did you and your wife have?
Well, we had 3 sons. One got hurt and died in an accident at the age of 15. And one right now is a pilot. And the other one works for the state as he's a deputy chief for the fire protection.
Right. All right. So they still live. So you got and one son and his wife run the Upsy Daisy.
Right.
Right.
That's correct.
All right. So now what are you doing?
I'm just retired.
Just retired and enjoying yourself. That's good. Well, Armin, we thank you for being interviewed. We thank you for your information. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us that you think now that you'd like to say?
I can't think of anything, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, we thank you very much for being here.